They didn't make this beat.
Yeah.
Back again with some heat. He gonna cover everything from the west to the east, from the north to the south, suburbs to the streets. Subscribe and hit the like so you won't miss a beat every day of the week. Gotta know he dropping. Restaurant reviews to the current topics. Yeah, sports outlooks and he coming proper. Tune in for the real win gossip. You tuned in to the What Up Though Show with Dame D. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. What up, though? What up, though?
Okay, y'all, what's up? What's good? Welcome back to the What Up Though Show. It's your boy Dame D.
And your boy E Skeezy.
And today we're going to be talking about mental health and mental sickness and illness. We all deal with that. We all have some type of mental health that's family members that's dealing with that in our family. So we want to talk about that subject today. E Skeezy, go on ahead and start it off and let them know what you got to say about this topic. Oh, hold on. First and foremost, we want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share to the show. And first of all, I didn't even introduce my guests. I got go ahead and introduce you guys yourself to the show. Sorry about that. You hear me, BJ?
What up, though? How y'all doing, man? My name is BJ3. I got a T situation going on at all_natural_T on TikTok and Instagram. I appreciate you for having me on the show.
Thank you. Welcome back to the show. Well, like I said, go on ahead, E Skeezy, start it off. Like I said, we're going to be talking about mental health and mental illness. I see you in there, PT.
Mental health is a serious situation, and I know we was conversing earlier,
right?
And we was talking about how you have your first responders. You know, I worked at a level 4 facility some while back, and we had a crisis prevention team, as well as when the crisis happened, how do you handle it? A lot of times we look at the person before we know what they're dealing with. You know, a lot of times a teacher just rule out a kid as being bad, or think about it, before they started diagnosing kids with ADHD and autism, they just had names for them that were not pleasant. We know what those names were, and you know, we don't even have to say it. What's already known need not be said. But when you're dealing with adults now, they still grow with this mental illness and deal with mental health issues. And they're out and about in the world. And now you have police responding to these people. And when police see somebody acting up in public, they don't think, is this person sane, or is this person having a bad day, or what's going on? All they know is to detain and solve the situation the best they know how. And that's the thing. If they don't know how to deal with someone dealing with a mental illness, they're just going to react in violence 9 times out of 10, you know. But you got to have people equipped to deal with such people with mental health issues. You can't attack them as if they were somebody in their right mind without dealing with an issue. You know, just like I'll talk about a personal issue. My mom had a mental illness, and she was diagnosed with dementia, and you can't treat her like she wasn't diagnosed. So it was certain things I would allow to take place, and I didn't talk to her like she didn't have an illness. So she would sometimes repeat to me stuff she already said. And what's the point of me saying, Mom, you already told me that. How many times you gonna tell me that? You know, somebody that didn't know my mom was dealing with this will probably respond to her in that manner, you know. But knowing what she's dealing with, I respond to her, and each time she told me, I act as if it was her first time telling me, anything to make it better for them.
Right.
And, some mental health issues come with triggers. And if you don't know these triggers, you can make it worse by yelling, by acting irrational, moving too close, and then you get a response. I also have a son that deal with autism, and
Right.
he don't like loud noises. You can't respond to him the way you would a normal child.
Right.
If you go to just brush his hair or something, he
It
may
may set them
just,
off. Right.
yeah, you too close or you invade my private space. But now let's fast forward. What about when he's an adult and the police come in to just try to pat him on the back or something, or grab him to say, put your hands behind your back or anything, or let me pat you down. Do you have any weapons or drugs on you? And he's clean.
Right.
But the fact that they're close, invading his space, he may react in a manner they're thinking, oh, he's being resistant, No, he has a mental illness. But if you don't know this, you won't know signs and things to look for. So you're just going to respond in the wrong manner altogether.
Right. And
And
BJ,
he's
and
been
before you
and
go, BJ, I want to we have a new guest on to the show. I don't know if you want to come on and speak, but I thank you
she
for
gonna
coming on and
text.
joining us to the show. But yeah,
Her
that's
her
something
mic her mic is messed up. She gonna do all her communication through text. All her
okay, that's
communication
fine.
through
Well,
text.
yeah. Well, if you hear something that you want to elaborate on, or if we're not saying something right, please feel to comment in the comments section if you can't come in or whatever. So, but yeah, in the beginning, we were just talking about, the first responders, and we're talking about mental health and mental illness. We were talking about how the first responders that come out to a situation, basically like when the police or, the police or the authorities are called out for a situation. What I'm seeing throughout the country, and I've been seeing for a lot of years, they are not equipped with the knowledge and the know-how to handle situations like that. Like how Skeezy was saying, you may have a situation where you may not, where it may be a situation where the kid or grown up may be triggered, by being touched or something like that. So, I want before we get started, I want you to elaborate on that. Why do you think that they're only sending the police out? Do you think there should be like a mental health situation, like when the police is called out, there should be like some type of therapist or psychologist that should come out that's equipped to handle situations like that? So I just want you to elaborate on that a little bit more, BJ. Welcome to the show, Ralph Harden.
Yeah,
Peace and blessings, people. Peace and blessings. Seeing little Lillian. Hey, all power. I tell you, you came up on my pictures thing too. I digress.
Can you guys hear me? Because all of a sudden it looked like my mixer done went out, but you guys can hear me loud.
Am I too loud? Because sometimes I'm too loud.
Okay. Well, go ahead, BJ. I'm gonna turn. Well, you know what? I don't want to turn that off because I don't want to mess my mics up. But so go ahead and elaborate on that, BJ. Why do you think that? Do you think that there should be a second party that comes out when situations are called like with mental health? Like just not. I don't think the police is equipped with just handling those situations. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on why I think that that it should be like a second party that should come out with the police. So go ahead, BJ.
All right. Absolutely. So I do want to go back and touch on some stuff that Skeezy was talking about, but I'll answer your question. So around here, when you make a phone call to 911, you get a couple different units that pull up to the scene.
Okay, now where's around here so people can know, get an idea.
All right. Yes, sir. Around here, Southern California. California. Yeah.
Because it's different rules and laws.
Los Angeles County. Yes, Los Angeles County area.
Okay.
So if you call 911, you're gonna get the police, you'll get the ambulance, and you'll get the fire department, right?
Okay.
So at this point, like you said, a lot they're probably not equipped, because we can understand from the training that, you know, what they're trained to do is basically not to break down and analyze if somebody is having mental health issues. You know, they're trained on other things. So to answer your question, yes, because we send in so many people out to a 911 call, I think at this point, one of those individuals should be trained in the area so that somebody can say, hold on, wait a minute, wait, put your guns down. This person is going through something, blah, blah, blah. They're no threat, blah, blah, blah. You know, give me a chance. Let me talk to them. Yes, to answer your question, yes. But can I say a little bit, touch on what he was talking about when he was saying about his son, and then the police try to go through his touch his boundaries,
Right.
go
Try
through
to
his
touch it.
boundaries.
Go ahead. Elaborate.
All right, so at that point, like he was saying, he has a son and blah blah blah, and you know, everybody else on the line, we all work with him, deal with him, and so like you also have to know and understand that if you have an adult that has been through therapy or have been trained on how to deal with their mental illness so that they'll be able to go and be able to be a productive citizen. A lot of times the training is something like you know, basically like you don't cross people's bubble, and people don't cross your bubble. And if you want to cross that bubble, you have to ask for permission. And if you want a hug, you can't just walk up to somebody and give them a hug. You have to ask, can they give you a hug? Can you give them a hug? And vice versa. You know, before
Right.
somebody touch you, they have to ask permission. And then, like you said, if you got an adult and he's been trained or she's been trained in that area to do things that certain way to stay out of people's space and keep people out of your space, and then the police just come in and go all in their bubble and start grabbing on them, pulling on them without even no type of explanation of what's going on, that could start a major problem.
Right. And
I'm done. I know I talked a lot.
before you know it, somebody's dead, and then you find
Right.
out later on the
Right.
news that they had a mental illness and they were diagnosed, and
Right.
now the cop, he gets away with how he responded because he didn't know.
Didn't know. And
Plus
he
he's
wasn't
a cop.
trained.
He's
And his
only
training,
trained to handle force and break down the situation. So now we're dealing with, instead of sending somebody else out, why shouldn't police officers be trained to deal with such and to take the time to see, is this person dealing with a mental illness? Maybe it should be linked to the address. So if they pull up, but you got to think about it. It's a lot of people with mental illness that have situations, an episode in public. It could be at a Walmart. It could be at a supermarket. But your first response should not be hand on the gun. You know, unless you see a gun or hear that the situation had shots fired, or you shouldn't approach the situation with your first thoughts being, oh, I'm going to shoot somebody or hand on a gun. It's even like that when, you know, you could trigger somebody off.
Feel free to come. Feel free to come on in, Ralph, whenever you want to.
With the autism, they don't like loud noises. So imagine pulling over an adult with autism, and you got the sirens on. You already got them stopped. Your siren's still on. You aggravated them even more, and then when you walk up to the car, knocking on a window, you see what I'm saying? Now you done already created a hostile environment. If you don't know, see, this is a public setting, so you can't send out a person that's able to deal with this person with autism. Hey, I'm on the freeway. Could you send out somebody equipped to handle it? They're not going to keep sending people out like that. So it's best to let these officers be trained in that manner.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well,
here's my
Ralph,
problem with that. Here's my problem
with
training officers, though. The training the officers part is that, like you say, you start out with a military mindset. You don't go into being law enforcement to go into thinking that you're even protecting and serving.
Right.
That's the real notion of now that I understand, because as you said, I'm now in Palm Springs, California.
Okay.
So they deal with homelessness completely different than they deal with it in Pasadena, LA, Detroit, New York, because I got a brother in New York, got a brother in Minnesota.
How do
So
they
we
deal
have
with it?
weather discrepancies, and that's where we have to look at, because, like you said, with the last place where the boy Isaiah in Denver was killed, only because he's autistic, but
Right.
it still was COVID. And the man the police approached him and the EMS approached him saying, "You look suspicious." Well, see, that right there is already where we say, here is where, just like with Rodney King, there was 5 police officers out there. All we saying is have a mental health professional out there like us working with mental health people who are autistic, and some may just be drunk, having a bad day, or a combination of both, because what we're realizing is that it's post-traumatic stress syndrome. And like you said, people of color and people of minority are treated like refugees. And so, this is where America understands. It's like, I need the police to learn how to protect and serve. And when it's a domestic issue, always have a taser in mind, because a domestic issue should never escalate where we're hearing somebody has gotten choked out, I can't breathe, or administering medicine that's not administered. You ain't gone to nary school of doctoring, so don't give me an epidural. I don't want nothing. I don't even know what it is, but don't do it on the street, because as you see, it's we on the back end of it, and then now it's a medical issue, and more importantly, we've gone to school to deal with this. And so more importantly with that, is that's the level of escalation that we're trying to avoid, because like you said, it's a no-win situation. George Floyd, nobody wins. Police going to jail. It's just like war. You're only going to create another. Every time you blow somebody up, you done created a revolutionary. You can call them a terrorist, but they're gonna be blowing people up with the Palestinians.
Right. So I guess my next question to you guys is, why do you think the government is not putting a big what's the word I'm looking for? It's not putting a big making mental illness and mental health number one priority. It seemed like to me it's swept up under the rug, especially in the Black community. So I want you guys to elaborate a little bit more on that. Why do you think it's somewhat swept up under the rug? Because for most times, like I said, like we were just talking about, when the police is, when the police or someone is called out, they're always aggressive with our people versus the other sides. But one thing I do want to say, mental illness is not just a Black or a white thing. It's it happens in everyone's family. So elaborate a little bit more on that, BJ. Why do you think in our community it seems like it's more swept up under the rug? They send the police out, and it's pretty much handled that way. Or, in the situations that I'm dealing
I don't think
with,
it's so much swept up under the rug. Number one, like when you're dealing with mental health, just like any long-term, life-term illness or sickness, to cope with it, to deal with it, to even try to think about curing it, it's going to take finances. Now, see, we have some people that they'll be quick to financially get their loved one the help they think they need, or whatever they need to try to come out of the mental illness they're dealing with. They'll go try to find the best doctors, the best neurosurgeons, whatever it is, but on our end, Medicaid.
But not to cut you off, what I mean, swept up under the rug. I had an issue with my sister. She's going through that. That's why I want to speak about this situation. The police was called out, which, like I said, they shouldn't have been called out. It should have been someone else there with the police besides the police. She was flipping out, totally flipping out, cussing, just going crazy.
Having an episode.
Having an episode. She totally broke down. And the police did not want to admit her. at all. So it was a family friend, a nurse, who had to come in, call the police, and have her admitted. So that's why I say they're not taking it serious in our community. It's kind of being swept under the rug because
Well, it's what you
she was
said. Where is
admitted.
they're being admitted to.
Right, she was
To a
admitted.
hospital is not the problem. It's what I'm old enough to know that in 1990 in Michigan, they had mental health hospitals.
Right.
Governor
Northfield.
Newsom is just now talking about that now.
Right.
And as my man was saying, well, that's where the finance is.
Okay.
We need to have the mental health hospitals.
See, and that's why I say it's been swept under the rug.
Right now, they putting them in jail. Well, like you said, what happens to us, once you have an episode, you're going to end up in jail or you're going to end up in shot. Because they're not going to be able to have to deal with you, and they're going to say, we got to lock you up.
Cheaper that
now the other Caucasian folks, they'll go to the hospital and they may give them something to sedative.
Right.
But as he said, that's when you can afford it. That's Beverly.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because you could even watch episodes of the Andy Griffin Show. Now, in the town where they know you, oh, that's just Bubba. He he ain't all there. He got a problem. Don't take him to jail. Just give him a ride home and such. Yeah. But see, that's how they approach you. That's why it's good to have police officers that's really from your community. You see what I'm saying? Right. So they'll know the people they dealing with. They'll know who, that's TJ. He just, he all right. He don't mean no harm. He got Tourette's. You see, he ain't really cussing at you. He cuss at everybody. Anything. You see, but if you don't know that, you taking it out on him a different way. Like he all there, but he not.
Right.
And see, for me, they should be doing what they doing in LA with the homeless, taking these hotels and making them homeless things. No, you need to take a hotel and make it a comprehensive mental health place, because the VA is really the ones who should be taking care of this, because most of the cats on the street, my uncles and every uncle that I have still are dealing with issues from the Vietnam War. And that's where most of the schizophrenia, and like you said, they gone to the VA and gave them some kind of medication and kick you back on the street.
Right.
That's what we've done, which is they shut the hospitals down and drop you off at the street like they doing these refugees.
Right.
Just get on the bus and you can't even speak no way, or they drug you up so you don't say nothing. Then they definitely have dropped you off. And like you said, those are the cases, Kaiser Permanente or whatever the Kaiser, these hospitals have been getting they paid off of it. And so now they're making it an issue. But no, take that money, just like they're doing with police, take the money and put it
train
back.
the proper people.
Yeah, that's where the mental health comes back.
And that's why I say it's been swept under the rug. Because like I said, I had a sister who was dealing with this. The police, they didn't, first of all, they were called out. They didn't want to admit her. She was flipping out, having a breakdown. Finally, it was a family friend who was a nurse who stepped in and came out, and then they was able to admit her. But shortly after that, they released her. No medication, no nothing. So she came back even worse than what she was beforehand. So and like you said, it's about the money, because we had places like Northfield. I know you guys probably remember that back.
That's the place I'm talking about.
Right.
That's the place. My uncles and church members dropped off when they shut the door, and nobody, it hit the newspaper once.
Right.
And then the Republicans were in office at the time. But like you said,
so my question is, what have they placed Northfield with? Have they replaced it with the hospital, with people who's not equipped with handling these situations?
Nope. Because I had two aunts, schizophrenic, used to check themselves into Northville, felt some kind of way. Why? And I said, oh, okay, that's what led me into mental health, is because it's all in my family. So, but it's when you have that understanding and a place to go, she actually did it. But once they shut that down, she was just then released on the family, and nothing good. I was just talking about people. No one talks to her. We don't even know where she is right now. So
right. And I'm glad you said that. And that's one thing I want to ask Lily, and I think she just went out. That's something I want to ask her, because I believe that may be the field that she's in. A lot of these cases, do you think it's hereditary?
Oh yeah. Ooh.
So
Some of it
can you
can't be.
elaborate on that for me a little bit, Lillian? If you can, you don't have to speak if you don't want to. You can just type it in the comment section and we'll be able to see that. Yeah, Jaleesa, if you want to come in and speak on that, you're more than welcome to speak. So yeah, like I said,
no, and I mean to that effect, I got another friend of mine who graduated Michigan State, you know, and her mother was schizophrenic, and so that's a worry for both of us in terms of as African Americans and people of color age and get past 50, then dementia is definitely in, and autism is, because I'm dealing with, I mean, my cousins are dealing with it. I dealt with it with my mother, and that's what she had before she passed. But that's in my case, because I already know I'm a little touched. The people around you, they know who work with me. Look at
you know, and we all, like I said, we all are affected. We all probably need to speak. Go ahead, Jaleesa. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, sorry, that's my son. He's in the picture. I'm trying to, yeah. But I think it is hereditary. It does run in the family. I don't think necessarily it can go from like the next generation down. But I definitely do think it may skip a generation or two. But it's definitely in the genes within that family pool. Yeah, to show down.
Amen.
Lillian's response is, I'll read it for you. She says, yes, some people can be predisposed mental illness, meaning they can inherit the gene from their parent. So yeah, we kind of said the same.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah, sorry about that. I was trying to. Someone had just called me, but yeah, and I agree with you, Lillian. I think sometimes, and sometimes it may skip a generation, you know, because I also have a father who's dealing with mental illness. I believe it may have skipped me and my other two siblings. So I agree with you 100%. But yeah, if you want to elaborate a little bit more, Skeezy, go ahead.
You know, I was actually not arguing or fussing, but me and my wife was having a conversation, and I was getting on to her about how she get on to me for something that can sometimes be out of my control. Like, okay, if you told me something and I told you I don't remember, that's not a place to get upset with me. Maybe you did tell me, maybe you didn't. Maybe I forgot. Now, like, and I forget, my mom just died from dementia. And talking about, is it hereditary? You know, maybe it's a lot of my life I don't remember. Like, it's gaps where I sit and I meditate in the morning and try to fill in the gaps, you know, and it's hard for me. If we sitting up talking about something and we say, what's my man name that played in Friday? And if I don't tell you his name or somebody don't say his name, we could all in this Zoom meeting, y'all could go to bed, be about your merry way. I'm still gonna be thinking about his name.
Welcome to the show, Joyce.
Amen.
And I can't rest until, so that's what I wanted to say. Like, how you deal with people and respond to people, you'll do it better if you know what they're dealing with. Like, it's not a place to whoop a child for using the bathroom on themselves no more than it is getting upset with somebody who's dealing with dementia or schizophrenia or anything like that. You know, a lot of times people cry wolf, but some people you gotta treat each cry like it could be, you know. My brother called me before he killed himself, but I treated the phone call like it was a normal phone call. He just wanted to borrow something or ask for something, you know, and I didn't take the time to think about who I was ignoring, you know, and I never spoke to him again. You see what I mean?
Mercy. Amen.
When you know things, you'll deal with it better. You know, I can't get mad at my son for throwing a temper tantrum because he want a snack or somebody is on his trampoline with him while he's jumping. I can't punish him. You know, the best thing to do, since he's dealing with the issue, let's move back and let him jump and y'all could jump later by yourself, you know, but give him his time, you know. It's just like the police. They not gonna care about what you're dealing with. They thinking about safety first, arrest next.
Amen.
Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what they hopefully think about that.
If they don't
But
shoot,
I think what you're saying is that what we need to do is be more honest. And that
yeah,
honesty is just saying, like you just said about what your wife is, hey, I'm just telling you what I honestly am telling, feeling, seeing,
yeah,
and I honestly didn't hear you.
I
But the
could.
difference is the notion is that now that I hear that honesty and truth, it's
Right,
now am I capable of dealing with it just as honesty. And so
right,
now that's why, like you said, that's why I don't believe that, like you said, domestic violence is trained differently for police.
right.
But like I said, you can't do all domestic violence is not always a mental health issue.
Yeah, I was going to
Right.
ask you that.
Someone snapping is something.
Okay, so would you put domestic violence into that category as a mental illness or sickness?
I think it's a curse.
Okay.
And so it's a curse that can, you know, and like you said, I had to stop it in my family because of the fact for me, it just, like you said, I can't name not one person on the Forbes Fortune 500 that said I got there because somebody laid hands on me.
I'm
Right.
gonna say no because is cured in prison.
And that's the problem. Everybody in prison said I got here because somebody put hands on me. Black, white, Jew, Gentile, male, and female. They all in prison because somebody put hands on them. And not in a loving way. It was some kind of abuse. And now, like you say, working in mental health is having a supportive presence. You know, and like you said, I ain't have no parents because they were both abusive to me. But I now just realized recently that, oh, I made up lies for them. So we make up things for our lives, for our crazy people. So to think that, oh, I'm not dealing with them, except everybody in my neighborhood parents was crazy. All the black people was, but you know, like you said, I had known the effects of Vietnam and joblessness and economic things of, as you say, when we now look at the civil rights movement. No, the black man, white man, person of color can't come to this America and get a job and feed your family without being trotted over, beat down, treated like trash. You know, you don't get the American dream. You get the American, you know, what the man say, nightmare.
Right.
So look, D, you asked like, is it swept under the rug with the black community? And I would say it's not necessarily swept under the rug. I would say that we look at mental illness different because like the names, the titles that they give us at a certain age is different. They give other type kids different type names, different type treatment, different type medication, or whatever it is. And, you know, growing up, like, we believe, like, any type of medication is, like, bad. And then when you get to college, like, all the other ethnicities, they've been taking
Ritalin,
all kind of stuff for their whole life, and it keeps them focused and they're able to do what they need to. But we look at like, ooh, like even therapy.
Why do you think that is?
I'm not into Ritalin though, because I had a nephew killed himself because they put him on Ritalin and he ended up killing himself because his mind was messed up. He was 12. They shouldn't have never put him on it. He needed a hug. He didn't need a Ritalin. He needed a hug. And his mama was a drug addict that now we didn't know until afterwards. But it's that type of thing we got to dig deep, be honest, because, you know, when they revert to medicine for us, like you said, it's one thing when you Beverly Hills, they give you a cocktail that's been done over in Switzerland.
Our
stuff
so
is
you
done
basically
down
like at a resort.
in Juju's basement, and we figure,
See, it's different. Like, you know, it got to be looked at. It got to be looked at like on a child by child basis to see if this kid is just busy and they need to be in practice and they need to go from practice to this practice to dance to football to this. They need to burn some energy versus you may need to get this kid on this type of medication. They just can't just generically distribute it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So,
Well,
I gotta
guess,
ask y'all if I'm wrong in this, because this is where, and I see Lillian and her husband, like me, is into investment. Am I wrong if I'm going to invest in the prison system? Because it's for proprietary in Mississippi.
Man,
These people are making money. And
Always.
so
money, I'm with it.
well, I
don't
guess
care.
my
money
next
on
question,
that side,
Ralph,
because my
is
brother's already been prison, jail. I
They'll
don't
build,
think I'm out trying to just get 10%.
so that's a good investment. They'll build the prison.
Good.
They'll shut down 2 schools to build the prison.
Amen. Ooh.
right. Well, that's a money thing. I guess my next question, Ralph, what's the what do we go from here, like far as how do we recognize that for those who may be listening to this after we put this out, because most situations, and I'll just use my sister for example. Her diagnosis didn't come out until she was like maybe 21. So for those who may be listening to this, how do you go about far as diagnosing that your kid or even your loved one, because like I said, she didn't show any signs until she was 21. She was perfectly fine until she had the nervous breakdown. So give us some advice on how do you maybe diagnose or help someone who's going through that situation or may not know, until their loved one is
I know
triggered.
with working with children, especially like the younger population of children. I think our youngest kid is 5 to 15 at the facility I work at. A lot of it is just growth. Like you have to allow the child to grow naturally before you just diagnose them, with something so severe as to schizophrenia or something like that. So for a lot of younger children, I think the age is 14, I believe. Before you can actually and before a psychiatrist can actually diagnose them with something so severe. So a lot of the younger children, they're diagnosed with ADHD pretty much because you can see that like they can't focus, or like Brunel was saying, it's either they can't focus and they try to get them on the Ritalin and stuff like that, or the
See, but
kid is just
do you think that's something a lot of our people think that they introduce that to our kids because the parents actually, do they get paid still for that when they put, like it was at one point they were getting like the parents were getting money back for putting their kids in these special classes and on these medications.
I was in special ed 4th and 5th grade in
No, I
Michigan
think it's
in
just
a
about
white
the
neighborhood,
that you
and no,
get.
they don't get paid nothing.
You get
And
put
they
on
but
IEPs and stuff like that, but that's just to give you
you're in the
more help,
system
additional
now.
help, or more of a support system.
Okay.
Versus something like that. But yeah, I was gonna say foster
Because
parents.
I thought that was that was a thing that well, I
Foster
guess that's a
parents
separate
do.
thing. Like if the kids
Right.
is
Foster
actually
parents do.
Foster
diagnosed with a
parents do.
sickness.
It's a D-rate license that you have to obtain in order to house kids like that do take Ritalin or are diagnosed with more severe mental health issues.
So
Outside of
And just
just
being poor, you don't get
one
that.
of the
Because I was
kids that
poor.
you see that
so
maybe just
is that
you just have
is that Ritalin and stuff like, is that helping our kids more than it's, is it hurting more than it's helping our children, you think?
it's situational, I believe. I think
Exactly.
some kids really do need it. You can see like that. I mean, I've been working in this field for 12 years now, and you can see some kids, and it's like, no, you are never going to be able to live on your own. Like, and you
Right.
can see that at 13, 14, 12, even. And then some kids you kind of look at like they're in the same housing unit or whatever, and it's just like, yeah, you can have a chance. Like if you were guided the right way right now in your life and you get some structure and discipline in your life, like you can make something of yourself. You may need a little more support or someone to talk to, but you can definitely, grow into be a productive citizen.
Right.
And then like I said, you have some that no, you will be housed in a facility. Like that's
Okay.
that's
Well, yeah.
for
Well, for the
yourself
mothers that's
and
out there
But
listening
I
to this,
also dealt with the white folks who I actually dealt with a young white Jewish guy whose mother worked for the school board and had him where he classified with Asperger's syndrome. And I substituted him with him all day, and she used that to get him basically held back in classes. So basically he was smarter than every kid even before he went into high school. And she was doing, because it's that, I mean, like he said, I was like, if he has Asperger's syndrome, you know, I'm LeBron James. So he didn't have it, but she had him classified for that. And that's the kind of thing that you're alluding to, is like you said, it's now that welfare Cadillac mama, but this is the white folks who use this mental health stuff to send their kids to Malibu
Right.
rehab, because we going to Candyland, not to Malibu. We going to somewhere else, but it's not gonna be Malibu. And these treatments that I've seen out here in California pale to what's in the Midwest, Chicago, New York, where, like you said, you're dealing with politics on top of politics and greed. So
okay, you know. Well, I guess my next question too is this, and this is for the adults. If what advice would you give to an adult who's maybe going through maybe some mental illness or going through, you know, a situation, you know, because us as grown men, we deal with a lot of stuff and we don't talk about it. We don't speak with anybody about it. We just let it boil up until we just explode. So give advice to those out there that may be going through something that don't speak about it, or that don't have anybody to speak with. So how would you handle that situation?
Well, let me plug
be scared
Black Men, Vision for Black Men, which is from Dr. Naeem Akbar.
Okay.
He is a Black psychologist for Black males and men. And so New Visions for Black Men is also including women as well, because it's all about, like you said, being honest with yourself. But what I've seen out there lately is that we've gone away from the academic people who study this stuff, because they don't have a YouTube following or you know, internet presence. So now they're starting to just bring in celebrities that said, you know, I done dealt with this. I went to a shamra. I, you know, smelled some incense, smoked some whatever, and bam, now, oh, I've self-medicated. Now I got a book out.
See, and that's another thing. We got a lot of people out here that self-medicating, that's on weed, thinking that they can self-medicate with weed. I want you to elaborate and let these people know who's out here trying to self-medicate, that they're dealing with. That's not a good thing to be doing with. So,
well, I'm not the one to answer that question, because I do. But someone else can.
I mean, you know.
But I just realized, like you said, it's better for me than the alcohol I was doing, because, you know, the alcohol was killing my liver. So, but finding that place of peace and joy, you know, like you said, I didn't necessarily find it in church. I just find it, you know, like you said, in the relationships, but it's something that God has come and he'll touch you, and then he'll send around these people. And like you said, you feel that way. And that's the kind of thing why I talk about with adults. That's why we need to get back to the Northvilles, because it's more complex. Because once you, as a friend of mine said, her mama said, you know, like I said, once you've grown, the voice has been talking to you.
Right. See, because when we had places like Northville, you really didn't hear too much about the killings, like when the police was called out and, you know,
well said.
You might someone getting murdered. You know, you didn't hear that when we had places like Northville out. So that's why I say we definitely have to get back to trying to bring awareness, to bring places like that back.
To me, that's the only thing for adults, just like with these children too. That's what we're working in some of the facilities. But the sad thing about even with the children's facilities is that the facilities that they put in the past were corrupt. They really didn't put the real folks there. They didn't listen to the patients. So the abuse happened, the greed. And so now everybody says, well, what is it now? Like you said, the option in America is just put them on the street or put them on a bus.
Yeah, you know, because we got a lot of homeless people out here that's sick. You know, we got a bunch of people out here walking that should be in the hospital getting treatment that they need, you know. So I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, basically, we're going to talk about, this is something that we're going to keep going and keep talking about and trying to raise awareness over here at the What Up Though show. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming in on the show. I don't know what time you guys got to get up. What time is it over there on the West Coast?
10:15.
Okay. Well, yeah, we've been here almost an hour. But yeah, it's definitely been a good conversation. I think a lot of people get good information from this. Is it anything else, Jaleesa, you want to elaborate on that we talked about?
Kind of just what your last question, just as adults, how we're able to get help, and then without self medicating, is
Right.
just to surround yourself with supportive people,
Right.
and then just not being afraid as adults to ask for help. You know,
Okay. So do you think that's a
don't
good
try to
or a
figure it
bad
out on your
thing
own.
that a lot of people out here is trying to self-medicate themselves with marijuana?
I mean, not just with marijuana, but alcohol as well. But then just try to form a positive outlet to it.
Right.
Since COVID, a lot of things has changed. It's changed the mindset
It
of
has.
a lot of people. Not. I mean, we're starting to see a lot more of this now. I feel like because of social media and stuff like that, you're exposed to a lot more now. You don't have to wait for the 7 o'clock news, or to look at the news, and then it's just like, oh dang, this happened. Like, it's almost instant now, and I think that's why it's becoming so like mainstream now. But just going through all of that, looking at that, especially for people of color, and seeing that, being feeling more exposed than other races, and then just going back to, like I said, trying to cope with that, losing so many people during COVID,
Right.
the financial upside of just the government, you have these wars going on, and it's overall just protecting yourself and your families, and that's what we, I think, all should focus on.
Yeah,
And like
and I
just
agree.
learning a way to deal with it
We
all.
all, like I said, we all have someone in our family that's dealing with with mental illness and mental health. So I agree. We definitely need to get behind them, speak with them, check on your loved ones,
I was just
and
gonna
just
say
reach
that.
out. Because a lot of those people don't have no one to speak with, no one to help them through their situation. Joyce, if you have something you want to add to the show or elaborate on, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to know. I came in late because I fell asleep. Sorry.
You fine.
Um, did you all talk about um maybe you'll do a part two as well, but did you guys like just talk about how mental illness and just treating mental illness is like kind of frowned upon in the Black community? I'm sure you guys
Well, we can
touched
talk
on
about
that.
that. Elaborate a little bit more.
Well, I was in an abuse. I know you trying to close out, but
No,
I was
we
in an
fine.
abuse. So I was in an abuse relationship with a man for a year. He uh I met this man through my dad, who knew as a kid, this guy kind of had some issues. He was on uh mental illness drugs at an early age and stuff. And fast forward to him being an adult, clearly the issues were still there, because by the time he got with me, he was beating me up. And then the girl before me, he was abusive to her as well. It took it took those two situations and me kind of in the midst of him being abusive to me. I don't know if anybody had ever talked to him in the way that I was talking to him, but domestic violence is a violation of a civil right.
Right. Well,
You
yeah,
have no.
we kind of
Okay,
talked
yeah.
about that.
Okay, yeah.
Ralph, we
All
kind of
right.
pointed on that about that physical abuse is kind of like, is it
Being the
linked to mental illness? So elaborate on that, what
Yeah.
she was saying, Ralph.
Right. So domestic violence is a mental illness that we see
Hmm.
that is hereditary because, like you say, you teach what you know. And so
Right.
what you see is that you've been told, like I had to learn the lie that, oh, I'm beating you because I love you. That they never said love. So like
Right.
you said, so
Right, but
it
and
wasn't
this
a
person
hug.
didn't yes, this person had admittedly told me he didn't even love himself. And
And
right at
that's
that
the issue.
moment,
That's it.
I knew. I was like, oh shit, like, well,
Yeah.
this is a wrap
It was
anyway.
time for
I
you to
have
get
no
out of there
business
if he
even,
said that.
And that's
yeah,
the
but
mental health.
it had been too late, because I had been with the person probably like 6 to 7 months, and it didn't start off him beating my ass. It progressively got there, and it got pretty bad. You know what I'm saying? I was able to get out and stuff, but and this person got help. They like felt bad afterwards. He just had a kid, He had never been able to have a kid.
Well, have he ever
Um,
had help for his situation or
yeah,
been
yeah, that's what I'm.
diagnosed?
Yeah, he was diagnosed with bipolar depression and and not schizophrenia, but it was because I worked 10 years in pharmacy and I saw all types of it was small. I used to count Ritalin out for smaller kids. And then those substances are also controlled substances too. So you guys already know that like they're highly addictive and stuff like that. So
Well, Jaleesa,
it
if you
was
can come in and elaborate on what Joyce was saying a little bit more, meaning that you're in that profession too, so you can probably tell her a little better than what we can, elaborate on that topic that she brought up.
With just diagnosing children at a young age, they really don't do because they kind of want to allow the child to grow into just kind of being who they are. And then at a later age, like if that's why, well, we're always told like to document. So if we're documenting all this stuff, they're going still to see a psychiatrist, and if the same behaviors persist throughout, their teenage years through early adulthood, then it's more so like narrowing down what the diagnosis could be as an adult. However,
right.
the only difference is, well, not even saying that because kids nowadays, especially in facilities, have all these rights. So they're able to refuse services that they need to be forced to get treated for. But if they don't want to, they don't have to. And same thing for adults. It only gets worse because growing into your early adulthood ages, if you don't want to go get help and it's just like, okay, well, I'm just going to go and self-medicate, then that's what you're going to do. And that's going to be a way
It's
to
like a
deal with
ticking
things
time bomb.
until something happens.
Right.
At least
Lillian
somebody
was just saying,
try to self-medicate. That's a way of acknowledging that they have a problem for one. Okay.
Mhm.
But that's when you pay attention and you step in and you add to the help.
Right, because I was gonna say if
But-
they don't get the help that they need, it's like a ticking time bomb.
Right. And I
Right.
used to think I could gauge when this guy was gonna beat me up, and I just never could. You know what I'm saying? He just would go nuts out of nowhere sometimes, and it was definitely mental. It just listening to you guys, it did remind me of that, but I am happy that that person did get help. And what Jaleesa was saying makes sense too. I do feel like a kid should have time to develop because you're still developing,
What
things are
before
growing
they
in
put them on the
you.
medication?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Absolutely. I
agree.
feel like that because
Yeah.
those things, like I said, I worked 10 years in pharmacy, and sometimes a lot of times those drugs have adverse negative reactions.
You
we
know,
have
and I want to say this,
training that
Jaleesa,
we
too,
have to go
before I
through.
forget. Do you think a lot of the stuff, especially for the young men in a black community, that the father is missing out of the house, that a lot of the trouble, and a lot of things that you see that's going on in the schools with our youth is just coming from, it's probably not mental illness, but it's probably just from the father not being there in the house. What you kind of put the two together.
I think some behaviors can be, but I wouldn't totally justify it completely on that.
Okay.
Either because
Um,
this guy has not to, but this dude he had big brothers and stuff. I just feel like he was
you
just
just have a
a
mental
severe,
system.
severe chemical imbalance with him, and it's
And let
very
me tell you about my other book, The
Hold on, Ralph.
Portraits of
Hold on, Ralph.
Fatherhood,
Before you get long-winded,
because
Joyce,
that's about the fatherhood.
Joyce kind of Oh, Ralph, Jesus,
Oh,
that made me forget.
it'll come back to you in a minute.
uh
But the portrait of fatherhood is where I said this is where in my generation, 68, is to say that no, this is where fathers like me, because this is now in 2 years, it'll be the 30-year anniversary for the Million Man March. And so I was
Awesome.
there, saw millions of brothers that all would say, I'm about my family. I'm not gonna put my hands on nobody except to love and hug them. So that's still there.
Right.
But like you said, the propaganda is still, you get the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett drama instead of,
Right.
and like you said, I don't even want to say Bill Cosby because he's corrupt. I threw his books away too. So
Well, that's another story.
so I don't use him. So we have some issues to deal with, but like you say, just talking to Elanya Van Zant is not enough. Fellowshipping and these types of platforms, because this is where I'm seeing that, where I believe the Lord is calling, that we do more of these things, where the platform is, you can access it anytime. And, we can start now telling folks, here's don't cost you nothing, but here's some folks who are real about it. Because what we had in the past, if you just gonna give me the textbook, we gonna fill that out. We gonna know that you ain't keeping it real. But the minute you get online and hear this, oh yeah, that's my sister, this my cousin, that's my mama, this happened to me. And when we do that and open up and say, no, I had to go and sit by myself, as the man say, once you feel touched, that's what I learned from when I feel that demon coming on, or those things of the past coming on, I know where to go, and that's where you take a walk, meditate, put on some classical music. But before getting drunk, hollering at the people and doing all that madness, it only fosters more negativity. And as I said, it takes a village, but if the village is all crazy, then it can only produce crazy people. So we have to have a new village.
And elaborate more on what you were saying, Joyce. Us as adults, we have to start doing more vetting people before, and this is for people who's getting into relationships. We have to start vetting people, making sure that we're not dealing with someone who may be dealing with mental illness, because a lot of this stuff is hereditary.
Let's use the word courting.
My advice to people is start trying to do a little bit more vetting people, before you get too deep off and into relationship. And this goes for everyone who's out there listening. But if BJ, if you want to elaborate a little bit more
for a second, what you just said.
Go ahead.
David, what you just said for a second. I think that's so important with vetting, like you said. And it's something, well, I've been married now for 8 years, but when we had our first daughter, thank you. When we had our first daughter, I was sitting in the hospital, fully pregnant, and we were going through like the questionnaire sheet. And I'm like, does the father have a history of this, and that?
Right. See, and a lot of people don't do that.
Right, I'm like, that's too late now, but I'm like, dang, I didn't think about none of this before.
Yeah, because he could have been totally a schizophrenic psycho.
Like none of the questions, like, and I'm just checking, and as I'm checking, I'm reading. Like, I know my side of the family, but then I'm thinking, like, we got a whole kid now. Like, I'm like, do you have this, or do your family have this? Like, you don't know. But then at that point, like,
can I meet your mom?
You don't know what you bring into the world.
And let's call it courtship. Let's call it old school courtship, because vetting is what we do when we go to a job.
Right.
And then because I'm a job, I can leave, because the minute you don't say something to me, I'm quitting. But when it's a relationship, like you say, you got babies involved. So it's the courtship.
Right.
And that's what we've missed, is that, do we take time to learn and be friends and share and reveal those types of things?
And
No, we want to jump in and and get into the bath water.
Right.
But
Before
we even
court. Right.
Know what the Kool-Aid smell like.
Yeah. Well, Jaleesa, let everybody know what you got going on, where they can reach you at.
Going on.
Any of your social media, if anyone have any questions, let them know what social media platforms you have, where they can reach you at.
Let me get back to you, because let me go find out my Instagram name, because I don't know it. I don't.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, Ralph, on it, but let me find it.
We'll come back to you, Ralph. Let the people know if they have any questions where they can reach you. Let them know what you got going on.
Olympians. She trains junior Olympians.
She's a trainer of junior Olympians. Flip
it around, Ralph.
I don't know how they do. I'm AARP, so I don't know how they do.
There you go. Anyway, no, you had it right. You had it right there. There you go.
Okay, give it. So this is where when I'm still coming, I'm putting the platform together, but it's about employment, research, and connecting who you are on the inside to what you do on the vocation to the outside. Because so that way, like you said, the mental health, when you go to the job, you're doing something meaningful and productive, and that it's growing you and your profession. And we work with people, not for them.
Right. Okay, Joyce, let everybody know where they can reach you, what you got going on. If they have any questions, if they want to talk to you, what social media platforms do you have, if any?
Oh, I ain't I ain't really nobody
Okay.
like that. I'm just on
Yet. You
Facebook.
nobody yet.
Right,
See,
yeah. I mean, not like that. I am somebody, but
Yeah.
I'm just
okay, well, if somebody might want to contact you, you might have a
okay.
young
Well,
gentleman out here that looked at you.
Joy Washington
There
on
you go.
Facebook, and then I go by Black Girl on Instagram, BLAQGERL.
There you go.
And I do follow like a lot of mental health stuff, and like not necessarily just for my own, but just for other people too, because I we all go through things. And even like I was saying, I was trying to kind of talk to my ex, even in the midst of him being abusive to me, because I do feel like nobody ever did that with him before.
Right.
So yeah, but that's those my
Okay.
handles.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, BJ3, let everybody know what you got going on, where they can reach you at.
All
Yo. Check
natural.
me out. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok. all_natural_T. It's 5 ingredients: honey, mint, THC, water, and lemons.
I got mine
And
right here.
you got it. There it is.
It
There it
works,
is.
everybody. So go on and check him out. He's on
That's
Instagram
it.
and
That's
TikTok.
that medication lit elixir.
Yeah. Well, E Skeezy, let them know what you got going on, where they can reach you at.
Well, what I got going on and where they can reach me at is on the What Up Though show, Emmanuel Fortune Facebook. And before I let go, I just want to give my closing thoughts. You know, a lot of times there's so many people talking, it's hard to get in and out. So I
Right.
like to let people talk and, gather my thoughts. But it was so much said, we may have to do a part two for
Most
the simple
definitely.
uh like it was said earlier, you can't even diagnose a kid until they're old enough. So number one is a repeated pattern behavior you have to watch for, and I'm finna bust a bubble right here because in a sense every human being have some type of mental illness. It may not be something diagnosed, but it's something that make you sick every time it happened, or something, a repeated pattern that we go through and a certain way we act. You just have to be equipped. And even with the cops, you got to have compassion. You got to have the know-how. You got to care enough to know about what they're dealing with. You can't sweep it under the rug. You really have to care, or it's going to affect you later. Even
Right.
if it's not in your community, it could spew out. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, so you really not mad at the person. You mad at that spirit, but you want to attack and beat the person up. That ain't gonna get rid of the spirit. You remember when we used to cry as kids, and your parents would say, "Shut up! I'll give you something to cry about." You
Right.
know, that's just gonna make you cry even more. That ain't
Right.
gonna help. I'm really
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I
trying to hold
hated
in
that.
my cry so I don't get another whooping. And that's how you got to deal with a person with mental illness. You can't just whoop them and think that's gonna help. You can't just lock them up and think that's gonna solve it. You got to care enough. It was a boy on the island, a Patmos, and Jesus went all the way over there to see about him. A
Amen.
lot of people would have just left him out. It was people that put that boy on the island. They didn't care. So instead of trying to figure it out or help him or having compassion, they put him on the island. But it's going to take somebody to go see about this person, no matter what the illness is. It could be our loved one, a parent. We quick to throw them in a nursing home, or do away with them because we don't have the compassion. Okay, if you don't, then get them the help they need, or get them in front of somebody that had the compassion or the gift to treat this person. Don't just push them away and you ain't got to deal with it. So mental illness could be rough on who's ever dealing with it. Have you ever had a migraine headache? Think of that being your mental illness right there, and you had to deal with that every day. You can't function, and you got people talking to you, yelling at you, treating you any kind of way. You really have to see about these people. You can't just push them away.
Right. I agree. Well,
Well
look,
said.
I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming on to the show. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2 to this. I thank you, Lillian and PT. Even though PT, you didn't say anything, I thank you guys for coming on to the show. Hopefully we can get a part 2 soon, but this is where it starts, you know, conversations like this. We definitely have to bring mental illness and mental health to the forefront, you know, because it's something that that's missing in the Black community, you know, in all communities, I should say. You know, but like I said, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming on to the show. It was a great show, and I don't have anything else to add. If you have
Man,
anything
keep
else
the
to add,
faith.
Easkeezy,
Keep going.
you can
Keep the
say it.
show
And we'll end it
going.
with that.
All power to the people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Power to the people. Well, look, it was a great show. We're gonna do it again. It's your boy Dame D, and we out. Peace.
And your boy Easkeezy, holla.
Yeah.
Have a good one, y'all.